Hey guys, welcome back again to a new video. So I am done with the certification with the Red Hat System Administrator certification. That gives me now a little bit more time also to play around with some other stuff. Anyway, I will do a video about the certification because I think it might be interesting for some of you. I cannot go into the content of the exam, of course, because it's protected from an NDA, but I can give you some information and you can ask me also questions in the comment eventually if you want to know more. But I'm gonna do that in our upcoming video probably next week. Now, in this video here, I'm going to show you actually my new setup for my main machine. So I showed actually on the channel already some installations for window managers like i3, BSPWM, Xmonad, DWM, and many others. And I basically built those in a virtual machine so that I could show you how you can build them yourself and then try them out. And some of those I tried them out also on my main machine. When I did those videos, I had also a different setup for a couple of weeks. But then I moved back to KDE, with which I'm very happy with. Also, KDE offers a great flexibility. It's a great desktop environment. Then I moved over to GNOME, which I also like because of its very minimalistic, and it's a completely different workflow there, so I had to adapt myself a little bit. But I really like both desktop environments so far, and I don't think that there is a best one. It's always, for me, it's always there is the best which suits you. So the best way is always to try it out and then decide for yourself which one is the best for you. So as I told you already some months ago, I was already thinking to move to a window manager this year. So now that I am done with the exam, I can start moving from there. So I started actually moving immediately after the exam, so the day after that. And I was deciding to move between i3 and BSPWM. And BSPWM was actually my choice, but then in the last minute, I changed my mind and went to i3. There's not a specific reason for that, but I thought maybe i3 at the moment is the easiest one to set up for me, although I know BSPWM is also quite simple. But I tried out now i3, and then probably later I will move also to BSPWM or maybe to some other window managers for that matter. We will see. But now I'm starting my journey with window managers. So this here you can see my new desktop. This is my new installation of i3. It's not yet fully done, but it's getting there. I'm building this day by day when I discover also some more things that I need to do. But for my main usage, at least for now, I think I'm pretty well set up. So I'm just gonna walk you through what I did. I cannot show you again the whole installation. Basically, the installation follows the same rules as I did in the i3 installations I have on the channel. I'm just going to show you here what I changed and what I did extra because it's specific to this machine. Now, one of the biggest challenges I encountered in setting up i3, but I think it's going to be probably the same with other window managers as well. It's not as much as setting up multiple monitors because I'm working with two monitors here. Now you see only my 4K monitor, but where the camera is now, where you're looking at me right now, this is my 1080p monitor where I normally do the tutorials because it's a standard format for YouTube and it's also a little bit easier to render. So to use multiple displays was not the issue. The issue is more in the DPI, in the scaling. And as in the desktop environments I used until now, KDE actually offered the possibility to scale different displays, but it never really worked out for me really well. Somehow there were always some issues. And the same goes for GNOME. Actually, GNOME was the only desktop environment where I could scale two different displays using Wayland, not using Xwork. But then I had a issue there when I had to do screen recordings because simple screen recording does not work with Wayland, and OBS Studio does work with Wayland with a plugin, but it was fairly laggy and it crashed me once or twice when I was doing some tutorials. So there I lost basically the file and I lost a couple of hours of work. So I decided to stick with Xwork for now, which is a bit more reliable in that way. But then Xwork has this limitation to scale different displays with different DPIs. It's unfortunately not very easy, actually not possible at all. I couldn't find actually a solution for that. I manage anyway because the virtual machine that I'm showing on the 1080p display is normally 1080p. So when I go full screen, it's just going to pick up the correct resolution. But if I'm working not on a virtual machine on this display, then I cannot really scale the windows the way I want to. But that's yeah, that's just the way it is. Anyway, what I'm going to show you here is my main display because the second display I'm going to use that normally just when I'm doing tutorials. So it's not there's not really something interesting to see there. So let me show you here my main desktop. So first of all, as you can see, I have here on the top, I configured my machine now with 5 desktops. Now the number 8 is where OBS is now running to record this video, but there is nothing, this workspace is not really used for anything else, as OBS Studio or maybe something similar. I have the first workspace. This is the one you see here, is where is my terminal. This terminal is running on the Bash shell and with the Oh My Bash framework. Sorry. You can download that from the AUR and you can configure it to install several plugins and themes for the Bash shell. I chose now the random theme, so that means every time basically I open my terminal, I can show you if I can close this one. It opens up a new shell prompt basically, and there's like 20 or more themes in there. I don't even remember. So every time you open one, there is a new theme coming up. That's just my choice, but it's fun. So this is the first workspace. This is going to be only for the terminal. I'm going to show you the config file in a second. The second workspace here is where I have my browser. Right now I have some tabs open in there. As you can see here, I have my Gmail, the calendar, and the YouTube tab, and also my website. Now I'm still looking for a solution to check my email with Neomat or Alpine, and to check also my Google Calendar with a terminal app, but I couldn't find one that really works for now. There is one called GCal CLI, but at the moment it has some issues. It has some issues with authentication, so I'm not sure yet what I will do there, but that's still work in progress. Also work in progress is the browser, because right now I'm using the Brave browser, to which I'm used to. It's a very stable browser. But I'm trying out also the Qt browser. It's already installed on this machine. I'm still testing it. It's blazing fast and it's really nice because it's using the command line interface kind of. So it's very fun to use for me. But I still need to discover some functionalities there. One of the, let's say, main issues that I found for me, at least for now, it's the password manager. But we'll see. I'm still working on that. I have the third tab here. This is where I have my Spotify running. And then I have the fourth workspace. This is where my virtual machine manager is normally running. This is what I use normally to make tutorials. And then on the fifth workspace, I have open here the file manager when I need it. So for the file manager, I went with Nautilus because it scales really well on this display, and it's very, very easy to configure also for other locations like network locations. But again, this is a matter of personal choice anyway. So these are the 5 workspaces I'm using most of the time in i3 for now. So I created actually one alias in my bash or C file so that I can access my config file very easily. And to do that, I can type in here con, and as you can see, it opens up the configuration file. If you wanna do something similar, you can open up your bash or C file and type and create your alias there. I can show it to you if I type in here vim and then bash rc. You can see here, I just created the alias here, alias con equal to the command you want to run. So my configuration file is under the i3 directory in my home directory, and that's the one I created. You can choose, of course, yours, or you don't have to do that if you don't want to, of course. So, but in my case, I type in con and I go to my configuration file. So this is basically the standard configuration file for i3 that you get when you download i3. I'm just going to show you some of the modifications what I did. So the first thing I did was changing the font. I went here for the font panel with the Adobe Source Code Pro, which I installed in this installation of Arch. It doesn't come pre-installed, you have to install it yourself, but it's a fairly simple procedure. I went on also to, let me see here. I went on also to use or to insert the media controls key bindings. These were not included in the standard installation. So I have actually an i3 file on GitLab where I have also those in here. So I noticed there was a slight difference to the ones I have in that before here I had for the play, just the play command, and for pause, the pause command, but it didn't work with this new version. I had to put play pause for both, and now it's working fine. In case you have a laptop or you want to adjust your, your display brightness, you can insert also these two key bindings here. Now I inserted them, but I actually don't need them because this monitor really, I cannot adjust the brightness from there. So I could actually just comment them out. What else? I installed Terminator. This is my main terminal. For now, Terminator, I might install Termite a little later, which I also like very much. And let's see, what else? I have dmenu installed. I went with dmenu. I like dmenu. There is also Rofi, which I might maybe also install one day and switch to there. But for now, dmenu is good. It's good enough for me. And what else? Go down here. This is the standard configuration. And I configured my first 5 workspaces here. You can see with the font awesome that you can download also from the, I think, yeah, that's from the main repository in Arch. And then I assign some workspaces and auto start. So for example, you can see here the workspace number 6, which is the one that I'm actually empty, it's outputting just to display number 2. So this workspace is basically outputting to my second monitor only. And that's the one I'm going to use, when I do tutorials. Then I'm telling the system to execute the terminal when I start i3. I'm telling also the system here to assign the browser to workspace number 2 and to start it up when the window manager starts up. And the same goes for Spotify and Nautilus as well. Now for Nautilus also I enable the floating mode. I want to have the window capability to float and also the size, because otherwise it starts up full screen, which is way too big for me. So I just set the size for that and move the position to the center so that it starts centered in the window. And I also put here a floating mode for the VLC application because I need it to be a little flexible. I don't want it to be stuck in one position. And also I assigned here, you can see the virtual manager to workspace number 4, and it starts up also. And I don't actually need to start this up when I start the machine. I will start this up when I need to record a tutorial. And the same also goes for the floating enable and the size and the position center. So that's about it for the applications. Now, here is the same standard i3 configuration file. And then I defined here some standard gaps that you maybe see better if I go to my browser here. I have those gaps around here. So the outer gaps and the inner gaps, these are the standards ones that I defined. And then I installed also a small i3 gaps from the GitHub project here for the settings. So this way I can dynamically change also the outer and inner gaps of my windows that are already here on the screen. So if I open up a new terminal, well, you don't see actually much the gaps here. Let me know to my browser if maybe it's better if I open up a new window. And if I hit now Mod Shift G, you can see on the top there, I can choose which gaps I want to change. So I say inner gaps, for example. So I type I, and then with Shift plus, I can increase, you can see the size of the gaps between the window, and with Shift minus, I can go back to the position I was before. And when I'm done, I can just hit Escape. So that's a small thing, but it might be useful if you want to change gaps dynamically once you are running. So this is a whole paragraph that I copied from the GitHub project. I will leave a link to it in the video description below so that you can see it as well. And what else? Then this is standard stuff here. So now we get to the most probably interesting part, and that's the bar up here. So the bar up here is actually created by Bumblebee status. Bumblebee status is actually a replacement for the i3 status bar. It's written in Python, and it includes already a lot of modules and a lot of themes that you can choose from. You can customize them, of course, to your liking as well. You just have to go into the scripts and the module scripts and change eventually there the configuration and the colors. But it's and for the colors, sorry, and for the colors you need to go to change the themes, of course. For the modules you can change the scripts. So here, for example, I have my Bumblebee status configuration has Spotify, which is up here. Now it takes a lot of space because I have also another workspace open, but normally it's not that long, which comes already pre-installed here with the play button. Then I have the disk usage. I have also the load here. I have the memory. I see I have another terminal open. Let me close this up. There you go. And what else? I have my CPU temperature. I have the updates that are waiting me for Arch. I see there is one update right now available. This is the weather module, which is also here in the list. I have the volume and the microphone volume, and I have the calendar with the day and with the date and the time with the calendar week, and also my power menu here. These are all modules that you can basically put here or remove if you don't want them. And it's fairly simple to use. You can just define the modules with the M switch and the theme with the T switch. And in the GitHub project, you will see all the themes available and you can just choose yours. Now, I also changed here the colors of the workspace bar. So for example, I'm saying that the bar should be transparent. You should use transparency. So this way I made actually the bar a little bit transparent. Now it's a black background, so you cannot really see that much. But then I defined the color for the focused workspace background, foreground and text, and the same for the other workspaces. And I wanted actually the bar to be visible only on my first display, so that's why I put here output display port 1. This is the display port that I'm using for my first monitor. The position is on top, and I don't have any tray here. I disable that, and the font for the bar is the monospace. So that's about it. Now the last part of the config file here sets my keyboard layout, because as you probably already know, I don't have a US keyboard. I created the scripts for my displays with arender, which I installed, and arender basically create the scripts which are going to be saved under the screen layout directory here, and then you will need to make the script executable and put them in here, and then it starts up when you start your i3 window manager. Same things for nitrogen for the wallpapers. I installed also PyCom and I started up when I started the window manager. This gives me it's the compositor, so I can do a lot of things with this for compositing windows. And then the last two things that I installed in here, one is the lock screen. So for the lock screen, I wasn't really unsure what to use, but I found actually on GitHub this very useful multi-lock lock screen, which is a fork of the better lock screen, which supports multiple resolutions, so multiple displays basically. So what happens here is that when I use this, it's basically scaling the image that I want to use for my lock screen on my 4K display and also on my 1080p display. So basically it takes care of the resolutions and and put them on the display. Otherwise, on the 1080p display, it's like blown up. And so it's a very cool thing. It's a very cool project, and I will leave a link to it in the video description if you want to try it out. And the last key binding here I have is for the screenshot. So I installed Scrot, and I'm just telling that if when I'm using mod Z, I need to select which part of the window I wanna screenshot, and basically that's it. So this is basically it for the configuration file. So you can see it's not extremely complicated, but it takes some time to build. As soon as I'm done here, I will put all of these dot files on my GitLab webpage. And if you guys are interested, you can of course download them and modify them to your liking if you want to. Now, let me exit from here. And let me show you the lock screen, how it looks like. So for the lock screen, I use the Mod Shift X key binding. And this is how it looks like. You can see it's very simple. It has just a clock there on the bottom left of the display. On my 1080p display, I see just the photo, and it's scaled properly, but I don't see the clock, and that's because I told the application not to show the display on the second monitor. So I can type in my password here and go back to my main display. I also set up here auto lock. I had to download X auto lock from the repositories to do that, and you can define then in the multi-lock screen application. You know, if your display is idle for like X minutes, then it's going to lock automatically. So that I've done as well. So the last thing that I did actually here, how I start i3, is with the Light DM Display Manager. Now I cannot show you this because I'm recording, and if I log out, you know, it's gonna show you basically nothing. It's gonna break the recording there. But I installed the Light DM Display Manager with the Slick Greeter. The Slick Greeter, if you don't know, you have seen it for sure, is the same greeter that Linux Mint is using. So if you know Linux Mint, or if you have seen Linux Mint login screen, that's the LightDM Slick Greeter. The Slick Greeter is available in the AUR, and you can install it from there. And it's fairly simple. Then I installed LightDM Slick Greeter, and the LightDM settings, which are basically the settings for that greeter. And once you have done that, you can see, for example, if I type in here cat/etc/lightdm and then lightdm.conf, you'll have to define here first the seed group with three different options, or two different options. Yeah, two different options. So one is the greeter session. This has to be defined as lightdm slick greeter. Otherwise, it's going to look for the lightdm GTK greeter. That's your personal choice. If you want to use that, you have to install it anyway. And the other thing I changed here, because I want to have the numlock on when I turn on my machine. So on the greeter setup script here, I just turned this on. You need to install the numlock X package from the repository and turn this on, and then it's going to be available for you. That's one thing. And the second thing is we need to change also the configuration file for the Slick Greeter. For that, there is a LightDM settings package that you can install, and you can do it with a GUI. Or if you prefer to do it from the command line, you need to basically edit the, I'm just going to show you, cat/etc slash lightdm, and then I think it's slickgreeter.conf. And these are the options that I defined. So you can see it supports high DPI. I have actually the GUI also installed here, but this is basically the result of what the GUI did for you. I'm using this as a with a high DPI. This is a shock keyboard. The theme I'm using, the icon theme I'm using. By the way, I'm using the Materia Dark and the Papyrus icon theme, and the background, which is basically the one you see here with my logo here, just a little bit more on top, because then you have the login window here on the side. And that's basically it. So it's a fairly simple configuration. Now, as for usage, so one thing that I noticed is that right now I'm using a lot of RAM because it's recording also OBS, so that takes a lot of RAM away. Normally, when I'm not recording videos, right now with all of these tabs open, it's gonna be the RAM consumption is gonna be around 2.5 gigabytes, which is not really low, but that's I notice is mostly because I'm using the Brave browser. So the Brave browser consumes usually 300 to 400 megabytes RAM more than the Qt browser, at least for my usage. You'll have to see for yourself what your usage is, but that's what I noticed. That's why I'm also trying to move to the Qt browser. First of all, it's cool, it's nice. Well, I actually can show it to you right now. If I open up here another workspace and I go to the Qt browser, so here it is. You can see it opens up with that DuckDuckGo. This is the main search engine, and you can go to my website here. I can type in EF Linux, for example, which is already in the history, and you can see it works kind of a terminal. But it's really fast, and it's fun to use. There are just a few things that I still need to figure out, like password managers and password management and bookmarks. On the bookmarks, I already found something, but I'm still working on it. But the Qt browser is using definitely less RAM than Brave, so that's one good alternative that I will explore. Other than that, I am very happy for now with this setup. I will keep using now i3 for a while, and of course I will keep keeping adjusting it. And so I wanted to just share with you guys what I'm up to here with the window manager. So for me, you know, I'm a, I grown up with desktop environments. I'm not a developer. I do system administration, which is mainly done on the console. So if I have to write letters or check emails or watch YouTube videos or stuff like that, I've been always doing that in a desktop environment because that's how I grew up. So for me, window managers were kind of a new when I started to discover Linux, and it was fun also to make the tutorials about installing window managers, and I felt there's something there which might be very interesting in the future for me to explore. The thing is, there is always one, I don't know how to say that. There is always something which you want to try it out, but you're not sure yet. Oh, it's a lot of work. I don't want to invest too much time or whatever. But then in the end, you make this step and you realize it's work, yes, but it's not that much that as you were expecting, basically. And it definitely has some advantages because you can work a lot with the keyboard. I mean, those of you who work with window managers here are telling me, "Oh, you are not telling me anything new." I know, um, but it's fast. You just have to get used to it. But it takes very little time to get used to it, actually. And it's kind of the feeling that I'm having right now. This is really a first impression. It's very efficient, and I'm really enjoying it. So I will just keep exploring i3 and window managers and see what happens in the future. Future is long. So anyway, this is just an overview of how I installed now my main machine. I wanted to share this with you guys because I told you already months ago that I wanted to move to a window manager, and now that I did the certification, I have a bit more time, and I'm very happy that I could do it, and I'm very glad to share this with you guys. So if you have any comments or suggestions, let me know in the comments below. I always try to answer you as soon as I can, and I always enjoy the chat with the community. And yeah, let me know also which window manager you're using, or if you're not using a window manager, why you are not using it, or if there is something that prevents you to use it, or the reason why you don't want to switch to a window manager, which I fully understand. I was there for a long time, but I'm just curious to know what you guys think, and I'm always curious to know also your opinion, of course. So let me know in the comments below, and I will leave a link to all of the packages that I used on my installation in the video description so that you can check them out for yourself. And a little later, maybe next week, I will upload these files also to my GitLab page, so that if you want, you can go ahead and download them or do whatever you like. So thank you so much for watching the video, guys. I hope you liked it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up and sub to the channel if you haven't already. That always helps me out. And if you want to support my work, you can do so by visiting my Patreon website, and you can also donate via PayPal through my website here as well. Thank you again for watching the video, guys, and I'll see you very soon in the next one.